Darren Dreger, the Edmonton Oilers starting to put the puck in the back of the net, and if they're working towards being back, this is a good step, is it not?
Yeah, it's definitely a good step, right? And then don't you kind of reevaluate and measure not just game by game, but you look at the segments as a fan base, and that's what the hockey club does too. And whether that's a 5-game stretch, a 10-game stretch, I mean, they've only played 29 games, and we've seen a little bit of everything. Of late, we're seeing a more connected group. That's the way it looks to me. Defensively, they look certainly more in tune than they were early in the year. The offense is clicking, and we're not trying to dig a big hole behind the arena to plant Stu Skinner in. So, I mean, look, there are the pieces that you need to have a successful hockey club, and we've seen that historically in Edmonton. And the one thing that I do appreciate, and I don't know if you guys get it, locally as much as we look at it nationally, because you're in it every single day. So you maybe don't hang on every word from Leon Draisaitl or Connor McDavid, but you dissect because that's what the fan base wants there. I like the demeanor of Draisaitl, and to a degree McDavid as well. Connor never gives you much. Leon is a pretty honest dude, but even though that there have been times and there have been flashes of frustration for sure and disappointment, deservedly so this year, he seems to have kept it on an even keel, right? At least with the media. Like, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot. And maybe that's just what they feel, how they feel inside that dressing room. But I do think the brand of hockey that we're seeing right now is more indicative of what this team should look like. But it's also a team that has some holes that, we'll find out in the days and weeks and months ahead whether or not Stan Moman is going to have the wherewithal to address. But they're playing better now. Although that Winnipeg game, that was as big a trap game as you're going to see. It absolutely was. The Jets had been traveling. I don't know, they had like 3 time zones in 4 days, all of that. Edmonton is sitting at home waiting, just champing to get at it. And the Jets obviously had nothing left in the tank in that game. Not to take anything away from the Oilers, but that was not a Jets team that we see more often than not.
Darren, one of my main duties here is to be tongue-in-cheek most of the time, and I am saying they're back, but I also never really believed that they left, so to say, and I know players and coaches have been talking about the time on the road to start the season, getting back, maybe getting some practice, and maybe you subscribe to that as well. But what would you say to fans this morning, listeners, viewers, etc.? What do you need to? Is it just as simple as wins this week against the Buffaloes and the Detroits to say that they are back, or what would you say to people who don't necessarily really believe in that yet? What do we need to see?
I'd like to see more consistency in all parts of their game. I mean, the Oilers are a team that when they're clicking, as we've seen traditionally, they play with pace and they push that pace. And I don't think we've seen that on a consistent basis. And, it's not like the pieces have changed dramatically. Connor McDavid is faster this year than maybe he's ever been, right? So why don't we see more of that on a regular basis? And I think that speaks to the issues that they've had defensively and the transition game that they've struggled with at times to try and get a hold of. So if we can get more of that, where all of a sudden now you're seeing that connection between the defense, maybe it's a quick one pass, you put it on the right stick, zipping through the neutral zone, and off they go. And you've got, consistent, persistent time in the offensive zone. That's the brand of Oilers hockey that I think we're more accustomed to seeing, that we saw more consistently last year and the year before. And we're starting to see more of it now, but you need to see it every single game, if not every period.
Darren Dreger with us on the show this morning, joining us on our Firehouse Subs hotline. You mentioned, some holes that will probably need to be filled on this team and other teams around the league prior to the deadline. The one guy, so they have Roslovic, he comes in, plays well, gets hurt. And that means an opportunity for somebody else. And Matt Savoie has had a chance to play with Leon Draisaitl for the last little while. He's got 3 goals here in the last handful of games. And I think it's sometimes, probably maybe around the entire league, but definitely in these Canadian markets like ours, you see a young guy, you want him to have immediate success. But Savoie's done a lot of little things correct, and it starts to pay off for him now. And for a 21-year-old, as long as he's patient with it, the fan base probably has to be patient with it as well, don't they?
I think so. Yeah. As long as the strides are there, right? 21 is young. There's no doubt about that. His resume shows how inexperienced he is, but that doesn't mean that you can't be an impactful player. And he is capable. We've seen, again, the evidence of that to show us that he's ready. But is he ready to handle and manage everything that's thrown at him at this stage of his NHL life? And we don't know that yet, right? Every player in the National Hockey League has a Matt Savoie, and some teams have more than one.
Yeah.
The player that you can see that the skill set is there, but bringing that to the rink every single night is a real tough ask. And it's more difficult now, not the mental side of things. I think, kids like that are just wired to play hockey. They just want to be at the rink, around the rink, 24 hours a day. That's how their brain operates. It's the physical side that can get challenging. It can. And it's amplified because of the schedule that all teams have to deal with this year because of the Olympics and whatnot. But it's not just about this opportunity with Roslovic being injured. That's obvious. Knoblauch must see enough in this young guy to feel that he's capable of playing again at the pace of Draisaitl and the top end players for the Edmonton Oilers. But here's an opportunity for Matt Savoie to maybe bank some goodwill, because he's not going to stay on that line for an extended period of time. Probably not anyway. But play well enough so that when the team is healthy, but you need just a little something different, a little bit of spark, Chris Knoblauch can go, you know what? There was that game, like a month ago, where I remember this shift or that back check or something along those lines, where the coach has enough confidence in you to give you another crack. And that's really, for me, what Matt Savoie is striding for.
Taking a look at the opposition here Saturday night in the Winnipeg Jets, where do they go from here? They kick off a 4-game homestand tomorrow against no easy task in the Dallas Stars. I know Matthew Hyman in our YouTube chat questioned for Darren, are the Jets considering any trades currently? Like, they're kind of just sitting on a bit of a middle ground here. Not really. I mean, it's a long ways till Hellebuck returns. You can point to their lineup also and say that maybe there are some things that just don't fit right now, but where are they currently at? And do you hear any, rumors bubbling up out of that organization?
Yeah, I mean, calls and conversations for sure, no different than every other team in the league. Winnipeg has a couple of young assets that Kevin Cheveldayoff could use as bait. Brad Lambert would be one, and Vinny Honola would be the other one, right? I mean, here are two pieces that, for whatever reason, just can't crack the NHL lineup. All right, well, he's open for business. He's willing to listen. He's not going to hand these players away. But if there's a player that makes sense, either offensively or defensively, then sure. Yeah, I think in that respect, he's open for business. It's the players that you lose at the time you lose them that sometimes can take the toll. Connor Hellebuck is obvious. You don't replace an elite level goaltender like that. Single-handedly, he keeps you in 1-goal games and probably wins a lot of those games where maybe the structure of the team isn't as crisp as what it normally is. But losing Neil Pionk to injury, that one hurts. It hurts because he's a good defender and he transports the puck well as well. And, he's a leadership voice in that group. So they've had their share of injuries. I mean, that's been the curse across the National Hockey League. But, the reality is there's also a large number of players on that team that need to look in the mirror and go, I individually have to play my game better. Right? Their secondary scoring has been spotty at best, and I think that's being nice. It's Scheifele and it's Kyle Connor.
Yeah.
And then other than that, there's not a lot of push coming from their offensive pieces. Now, they would explain it and say, yeah, but the puck is always in our end. We're defending too much and, we're killing our legs and we don't have any energy to generate the offense. So, yeah, Scotty Arniel has his hands full there trying to figure that out because it's been messy for too long now.
Dregs, every week we talk to you is a week closer to the Olympic Games. Anything on Team Canada as of late?
No, just meetings and more discussions, right? It's going to be interesting to see what sort of update there is on the Olympics. As you can see, I'm in a hotel room. We're in Colorado Springs for the Board of Governors meetings here. Not very meaty or juicy meetings. They never seem to be. But there'll be some sort of Olympic update here. And, Pierre LeBrun, that seems to be his file, Team Canada and Team USA. So undoubtedly we'll check in on that. No, I think everybody's just fascinated by, has Connor Bedard done enough to put himself in a healthy position to make the team? I don't think he has. I don't think this is a roster that you can score your way onto a top 6 role. I don't. But, we're going to find out in the very near future because they're going to announce a team on December 31st. So
we had Bruce Boudreau on last week, and he goes, you have to look at Bedard and go, can he play on the wing for this team?
Yeah.
Right? Because they got it's so deep down the middle with so much talent down the middle. And then basically, and Bruce covers the Washington Capitals, but Bruce brought it up. And Bruce is like, and you're building this team. Do you want Connor Bedard on the wing in your bottom 6 or do you want Tom Wilson?
But in such a small rink as well.
And I know it's not just those two guys, but I mean, those are the type of conversations that have to be had, right?
Right. We had this conversation as our group last night. And the one thing that, aside from the obvious of putting the puck in the net, Bedard does deserve credit for how his game has adapted here, right? His skating is really up to notch. He's taken his skating game to a new level. So we'll see how it plays out, but they've got some really, really tough decisions.
Good stuff, Drakes. We appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the Board of Governors, and we'll check in next Monday.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Have a good one.
There you go. That's Darren Dreger, Ray and Dregs podcast, obviously. Dropping a few of those every week. And, what do you say? December 31st. That's 3 weeks from now. We'll find out who's on this on this team.
A New Year's Eve special.